And then when you do a television program, they'll even attack you there. You know, they'll even make that out to be another disinformation campaign. Recently, you know, I did this sci-fi FactNotFaked program. And, you know, I knew going into it exactly what it was going to be. I knew what was going to happen. You know, and what the backstory of that is, people just don't understand. They don't understand that they sought me out for months and months. And after months and months, I decided, okay, well, it's another opportunity for people to at least become a little more familiar, you know, with somebody out there who has had an experience. And again, maybe other people will spend the time to look into it personally for themselves and not just be overwhelmed by what the media is presenting in a soundbite. Well, that's exactly what happened. You know, I agreed to let them have some of my footage that I had originally taken, some of my evidence, and they tried to recreate it. They couldn't. They did just a comedic attempt at trying to recreate, you know, some of this evidence. And when they couldn't do it, they attacked the messenger, which they, you know, originally, we're not going to harass you, we're not going to talk about this, we're not going, you know, and they did such a lame job of it, but they shot themselves in the foot. The public recanted their program and came running back to me in support of my efforts. So, in the end, you know, you can only do what you can do. You know, did I see it as a negative? Not really. It's one of, you know, 100 programs I've done over the last 10 years, and it was only a little cable program. You know, I have a much bigger audience and agenda who really care about the truth. They don't care about the sound bites. They want the reality of what's going on. They see beyond the negative rhetoric that's thrown in front of them to try to persuade them to look away. You know, the public is a lot smarter than people give them credit for.
I know.
They really can see through things if they're given the opportunity. If you learn to listen to them and not just identify them as, you know, bullies or people who, you know, need to be controlled. The individual out there is pretty smart, and they can pretty clearly see when a smoke job is being done, when a hatchet job is being done on someone in the media. They can pretty clearly see through that. So I have, you know, my hat goes off to the public for recognizing what happened in that little sci-fi program.
The interview, could you talk about the interview between you and Ben?
Well, you're talking about the interview within the sci-fi program itself?
Yeah, with Ben.
You know, I told them the truth. I told them what was happening in my life, you know, over the last 14 years. You know, I was diligent about being forthright about where, when, how, why, what things happened, and the whole thing was set up as an ambush to ambush me in the end. And I had hoped that wasn't going to be the case, but in reality it was. That's what they tried to do. They tried to railroad me into some emotional breaking point, and they were unfortunately very, I think, surprised that you know, they didn't get me to cave in as they had hoped, you know, on camera, that they thought I was going to, you know, break down in their moment of boiler room investigation or interrogation. And hey, you know, I've learned a long time ago, we can agree to disagree. I mean, that's what I said on camera. You hey, you have your opinion, I have mine, and I'm just here to tell you my side of the story. And regarding the audio lie detector or polygraph that they were using, that's just bullshit. I mean, everybody who knows anything about investigation, stress analysis can be analyzed in any direction you choose. I mean, was it a stressful situation? Well, I've been dealing with these people for, 8 hours, being drugged through the woods, being made to do scene after scene, over and over and over, put down, and then this guy jumps down my throat and basically calls me a liar to my face and gives me no proof. He gives me no justification for anything that he's saying, but just decides to call me a liar. Well, that doesn't feel good to start with. And I had put some trust and some respect to these people after being with them for hours. Well, was I stressed? Maybe a little bit. I think anybody would have been. Do I put any credence to their voice stress analysis? No, I don't. Look, I've taken 2 polygraph tests that were administered by law enforcement. I did that early on. I passed both of them. So, it's just one more attempt of disinformation. It was a clear case that a show needed ratings. They knew the case was, as they proclaimed themselves, they said that this case is bigger than Roswell. Do you think there was some significance of what came out of their little pony show? Because the audience saw through it. Yeah. And that's what's so unique to me. None of us on my team said anything to the public, to my supporters, that we had even done this program. We intentionally stood down and didn't explain that this was coming. And the onslaught of huge amounts of people that came through email and through general mail and telephone calls of support was overwhelming. I mean, thousands and thousands of people every day. For a few months of people saying, we never knew about your case, but now we do, and we saw what they tried to do to you, and we know that it was just, you were being blackballed. You were being set up. Mm-hmm. I mean, that kind of support, was overwhelming. It's fantastic, and it's good because people see the truth. Yeah. People understood the truth. What's sad about it, and I'm just gonna talk, direct here. What's really sad is that they had a great opportunity to let people decide for themselves. And they didn't. They had to smear it, they had to spin it, and try to come up with some conclusion. The show is nothing more than a Mythbusters show. They take some information, they try to recreate and dance in some fashion to try to, mimic whatever information they've gotten, and supposedly that draws them to some conclusion. Well, in this case, it drew the public to conclude that they were a bunch of buffoons, that they were a bunch of fools. Right, and it's sad because I think, in truth, the people that were on camera, for the most part, are genuine people who have feelings and have careers. But I think Hollywood presents a shallow side, or television presents a very shallow side to the reality of what we really need to learn from some of this stuff. But, like I said, it was just a cable show. It's one of many, and we've gone far beyond that now. Right. So, it's something in the past.
They're not going to stand down because FactNotFaked.
Well, the public is smart. I mean, the public sees through, all the negativity and all the smoke screen. And I think the importance is that if people want to know, if they want to know more, then they need to search it out. And that doesn't mean just contacting me in an email, which is fine. People can do that. And we get thousands of emails every day. And I try to spend, a few hours a day dealing with that email, calling people, talking to them, and giving them the best support I can. But what people really need to do is spend time with somebody who's had contact. And I don't care who that is. I'm not asking you to find me. I'm asking you to find people within your own community, people within your own society. Do I believe in UFO groups and some of these little presentation clubs that are all across the world and all across the United States and Canada and South America? I believe in them only for one thing, is it gives people a source to come together in a situation that's very difficult to find unity, to find community. So I believe in that. Do I believe that they're really getting the right information, the total package? No. Unfortunately, they're not. Because they're only getting the people who are, out there in the spotlight, who are trying to make a living, off of being an entertainer,
right,
of sorts. Most of the people who have the real information are the ones who are not in the spotlight, who've chosen, like myself, to stand down and deal with the behind-the-scenes efforts that we're trying to do. There's a lot of things that people don't realize, and yeah, I've been asked to write a couple more books, and when is another book going to come out, or when are we doing a movie, or when, all these things take time, all these things take resources, and, I've been dealing with limited resources, so we're doing the best we can. We found that a lot of these interviews are much more valuable to the individual who can sit down and listen at their own pace in their own home, in the privacy of their own mind, and start to understand that, hey, maybe this guy isn't so nuts after all. Maybe he has some validity to his story when they really take the time to listen and to feel what I've been saying, or what anybody has been saying about, what this is all about. But, we've compiled enough information for probably 3 more books, and we're currently working on, what's been going on over the last 10 years of my life, and what I've experienced and what I've been up against. Like I said, the backstory is what people don't understand. They don't understand the struggle involved with the daily life, that I don't live in the United States constantly, that I live in kind of a mobile situation to keep myself alive, to keep my team safe and alive, that there is a constant attack on us, on our team, on the information that we've tried to keep, being available for the public. Even that there's an active effort of disinformation even among the internet media, because who can you trust when you find out that a lot of these interviews that are done are cut up and dissected and spun in other directions? I mean, that's the problem. The problem is nobody spends the time, and maybe quite understandably, that people don't have the time to really fathom and understand what this is about. They have their own lives. They have their own drama going on, trying to feed their family and keep their jobs. And, in this economic time, they just can't make the commitment to, some nut job who has contact with an ET.